So 2 years ago, I made a video talking about Goku versus Archie Sonic, and it wasn't even regular Goku, it was like Xeno Goku or something like that. And honestly, I did wrong for multiple reasons. First, that's overkill. And secondly, and most importantly, I overshot Archie Sonic's power by giving him a higher level of power that he does not have. I gave Archie Sonic 8-dimensional power. 8th-dimensional power in my previous video. I was batshit insane. So in this video, I'll be going over Archie Sonic scaling and essentially fixing my past mistakes. With that being said, let's get into it. So obviously, we know the main feat that everyone mentions when they're talking about Archie Sonic and his scaling. It's him being able to control and neutralize the Super Genesis wave. Now, this wave was quite literally going to wipe out and restart the entirety of both Mega Man's and Sonic's multiverses, and because of that, they ended up having to go into Sonic's super form and Mega Man's ultimate form to be able to stop that. And see, that's cool and all, but this feat is insanely overrated and overhyped, and in order for me to accurately debunk it, I'm gonna have to talk about what the wave was intentionally gonna be able to destroy in the first place. And to do that, I have to break down the Archie cosmology, so let's get to it. Starting off with the Prime Zone, which is essentially Sonic's home universe housing multiple celestial bodies, including multiple moons, stars, galaxies, you name it. To keep things simple, it's infinite in size, and essentially this is the place from where all alternate realities stem from. This bare minimum calls for a universal level framework, and it only gets even more vast when we talk about the multiverse, which has multiple statements for it housing infinite worlds on top of infinite possibilities, easily qualifying for the multiversal tier. Next, we have the Cosmic Interstate, which is essentially an interdimensional highway that allows you to travel to all zones in the multiverse. But things get extremely wild when you factor in the no zone, which is a strange area that cuts perpendicularly through every other zone. It bends space and time, and anyone who enters it essentially becomes perpendicular as well to all no zone residents. Now, the scaling that I have in front of me is trying to list this idea as a separate spatial axis. However, there is no evidence for this whatsoever. For all we know, this could be a 4D space that exists on the same manifold as every other world in question. So again, the likelihood of the conclusion of the Cosmic Interstate or no zone being 5D is just not present. Next up, we have Imaginary World, which is a realm where everyone's dreams gather and take shape in reality, which is pretty much the exact same way it functions in the Sonic games. Some people do try to argue that these dreams are extra dimensional and that it makes Imaginary World a higher spatial axis. However, there is literally zero evidence for this whatsoever. And again, something being extra dimensional does not mean an additive spatial dimension. That's just not the case. Again, it can simply just mean that it's something beyond the reach of Sonic's world, which is demonstratively the case. Even going so far to say that because Imaginary World can hold an infinite number of dream universes, it has to be 5D. Again, why does something infinite now need to have a higher dimension in order to contain it? There's just no inference rule really given here. And again, it's openly dismissing the possibility of an infinite structure containing infinite properties like that. You feel me? Like I'm not understanding why we're just discounting that possibility altogether. So now let's talk about these higher planes of existence, because every time I have a debate about where Sonic scales in the Archieverse, everyone always mentions these higher planes of existence and then uses this wording to try to like frame it as if like higher dimensional axes are inherently granted here. So let me just dispel that immediately. Just because something is on a higher plane of existence does not inherently mean that it's on a higher dimensional axis. Just because it's ontologically above doesn't mean that it's an additional spatial presence. You feel me? Like that's not the case. Like for example, Frieza's hell is ontologically above the living universe. However, physically and dimensionally, it's still within the Dragon Ball universe. That's the point I'm making here. Ontology and dimensional structure are not always intrinsically intertwined. And so yes, time may not be relevant to them on a conceptual level, but why does that have to talk about true abstractions and not just mental ideas? For example, these are spirits, these are ghosts. These things don't age, they don't die, they don't go through any type of existential time change. So why does time genuinely matter to them? It shouldn't, right? If it was really y'all's way and y'all are right about this, then my question is, why have none of these like non-physical beings ever seen the past, present, and future all as one thing if the concept of time is not relevant to them? If they're above the concept of time and space, then again, why is the future still unforeseen to them at times? It's because the concept of time is very much present. Even more evidence of this is that you don't truly transcend space and time dimensionally until you get to the Chaos Force, which is another higher plane of existence, which is pretty much the pinnacle and apex of Sonic's cosmology at this point. We've reached the end. Essentially, anyone who has made it to the Chaos Force has rendered themselves completely out of space and time altogether. Like, again, this is the pinnacle of the verse. I have no real issue with this being above 3D space and 1D time. There really isn't a problem with that per se. So given the Chaos Force 5D is just fine with me. I have no issue with it. However, that's not the kicker. The real kicker comes in where we understand how the Super Genesis wave was done in the first place. Now, when it comes down to Sonic's end, Sonic had to be in his super form using premium amounts of chaos control, and even then, he still could not achieve this without Mega Man's help. And it doesn't stop there, because when Sonic tries to use chaos control to that level again, it flunks out on him. He can't do it. So Super Sonic can be getting stronger. That's just fine with me, but the claim or the random assumption that he can just essentially wipe out his cosmology and then rewrite it at will is just not the case. The best I could give Sonic here is like Lil Multi, honestly. And that's like, maybe I could push it to 5D just off of him being able to interact with the Super Genesis wave energy off of some slight factor. But besides that, there's really nothing here that puts him at this 6, 7, 8 outer versal range. Like, I don't understand why people are trying to like make it seem like this character is just so powerful. If I'm being honest, I was wrong when I said that Game Sonic was weaker than Archie. I was 100% wrong. If we're being brutally honest, Game Sonic dog walks, and it's not even funny. It's not even a joke. Like, Game Sonic at least can get to 5D comfortably in base. Maybe you can push that. And then you can like push even higher with Super Sonic. Like, at least with Game Sonic, like, people don't play Sonic 06. They don't like that game. So like, you're not going to really catch people going back to the actual events and figuring out that the only way that Game Sonic was able to even interact with Solaris is like via Solaris being trapped in the dimension of time and space that's like warped and distorted. So with that being out the way, there's really nothing here that puts Archie Sonic above even base form Goku from Dragon Ball Super and GT. Like, base GT Kid Goku like is body bagging Archie Sonic. It's not even a joke. I'm not playing. Like, it's bad. And you can keep a measurable speed or what, that's fine. Let him have a measurable speed. He needs it, because at this point, there is literally no way that Archie Sonic is going to stop base Goku. No way. No way. Like I said, it'll get way too redundant if I go over my Goku scale. I've done the same thing in the past 5 videos I've done. So if you want the scale, go peep those videos. Go peep my YouTube shorts. I've done it all. I've explained it all. So yeah, with that being said, it's been your boy Historic. Archie Sonic is garbage. And I'm out. Peace.